perfect.
Real talk, Kojima is behind a ban.
I keep it real.
I, like many gamers before me, have spent hours gladly hopping down the Blue Box Studios abandoned rabbit hole. And among all of the theories, coincidences, ambiguity, confusion, and doubt, I've come away with my own take on this whole thing. So I wanted to make this video about it, but I want to preface this by saying I won't be regurgitating a lot of the popular connections that have been found over the last 2 months and are the subject of plenty of YouTube videos out there, but rather giving you another way to look at this entire situation. Now, ever since the abandoned trailer dropped in April 2021, I felt something was off about the whole thing. It seemingly came out of nowhere, and although I heard early theories about this being connected to Kojima, they all seemed like wishful thinking. So I wasn't paying attention until June 17th when all of that changed. During a Q&A session, Kojima's BFF Jeff Keighley was asked, "Hey Jeff, WTS is happening at BB Game Studios. Can you talk about the game or the team?" And this was his response.
Everyone asked me about this, and actually I got a DM out of the blue from Hassan a little while ago asking if I wanted to sort of help them reveal the game over the summer. So stay tuned, but I think there will be more to share on this title. I'm very interested in it. I don't honestly know a lot about it, but Hassan has been really eager, I think, to share more with you in the coming months. So yeah, stay tuned to my Twitter. I think there's more to share on that game soon, and we'll all find out together.
Now, once I saw this, I knew something was up. This man is smiling like Kojima finally accepted his overnight camping trip invitation. And we can't forget Jeff was involved the last time Kojima used a fake game, The Phantom Pain, to promote his real game, Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, that trailer debuted at the 2012 VGAs, and Jeff Keighley held a fake interview with Joaquin Mogren, who is just an actor hired by Kojima. Now, a lot of fans want this to be a revival of Kojima's canceled Silent Hills project, with clues ranging from the Silent Hills banner Blue Box Game Studios is using for its YouTube channel to this cryptic tweet that their Twitter account sent before apologizing. Now, I'll get back to that tweet later on in the video, but I'll draw the line in the sand right now. I don't think this has anything to do with Silent Hill, but there are many clues pointing to Kojima being involved with Abandoned in one way or another. Now, the most obvious line being drawn is Blue Box Studio head Hasan Kahraman. Not only does his name share the same initials as Hideo Kojima, HK, but Kahraman is Turkish for Hideo, aka Hero. Many have also pointed out how the Blue Box logo is very similar to PlayStation Studios logo, even using the same font, but the company logo was recently changed to match PlayStation's logo. And this is where I've seen most people have gotten off of this theory train, because while Blue Box's website is bare bones and they have no record of a trademark, they do have a history of creating games. And I want to talk about the first game that many fans were able to find, Rewind, which was a Kickstarter that was apparently fully funded by a private investor less than a month after the campaign began. Now, I've seen a lot of theorists claim that this discovery alone, that Blue Box Games was established as early as 2015, as proof that this has nothing to do with Kojima, and it is just an indie developer who tried to take advantage of internet hype to sell their first major project. I mean, are we supposed to believe that Hideo Kojima would be crazy enough to secretly create a studio 6 years in the past, work on these small indie projects, and all the while this abandoned reveal was actually the end game? Is that even possible? Yes, it is. I mean, we're talking about a man who secretly hid the main protagonist of one of the most anticipated sequels in video game history. It is very possible. Now, for those that don't know, Kojima and Konami had a very public, tumultuous breakup, and I want to go over some very interesting dates. On March 19th, 2015, several websites ran stories about Kojima no longer working for Konami. The clues reported were that Konami scrubbed all mentions of Hideo from their website, website, along with any mentions of Kojima Productions. Then there was the fact that Kojima had been removed as a Konami executive from their corporate website. But what many sites didn't know was that Kojima was actually demoted way back in October 2013. Kojima knew his days at Konami were numbered, and he would be leaving in October 2015, 2 years after his contract was renegotiated and would not be renewed. Now let's jump into Hideo Kojima's mindset in March 2015 for a bit. Not only do you know Silent Hills will be canceled, everything you've built throughout your entire career now belongs to Konami. Not only the Metal Gear Solid franchise, but also the Fox engine. On top of that, the company is going the extra mile to completely erase you from their history. Now, as I said, the media began discovering what was happening to Kojima on March 19th, 2015. And 3 days before that, on March 16th, Kojima posted the following tweets captioned "A break and heading off." He did not return to Twitter until April 15th, taking an entire month off. Now that date, March 16th, is very important because 1 day later, on March 17th, 2015, Blue Box would launch their Kickstarter for Rewind, a cinematic horror game for PC, VR, and consoles. There were 6 updates for the campaign, with the last one being posted on April 4th, when Blue Box claimed the game was being fully funded by a private investor. That means this Kickstarter was launched and funded within a single month, the exact time Kojima took a break. Now, my theory is that this could have been Kojima's outlet following him being ousted from the company he worked at for over 2 decades, experiencing what it felt like to build something on your own again from the ground up, creating playable prototypes and working with a small team. Even the studio name Blue Box is attached to Kojima. 204863 was a prevalent number in the PT demo that also involves his birthday, but it's also the hex code for, you guessed it, a blue box. Also, the studio location, Leiden, Netherlands, is where Kojima Productions got the inspiration for its logo and motto, Homo Ludens, or the man that plays. But the similarities don't end there. Rewind was pitched as an episodic game involving 10 chapters, with the first one being called Abandoned. In a January 2020 interview, Kojima expressed that he would also like to make smaller games, possibly episodic or digital-only ones. Then in February 2021, we learned Kojima Productions was working with Stadia on a game that was going to take advantage of the cloud gaming space. According to VGC, the Kojima Productions project was understood to have been pitched as an episodic horror game. Now, there are countless other connections, some a stretch and some that make sense, and you can check those out for yourself. I'll link the Blue Box Conspiracy subreddit down below, but I want to talk about the biggest, most obvious piece of evidence that Abandon is not just a small indie project, which is the trailer itself. Dropped randomly out of nowhere on PlayStation's official YouTube channel, accompanied with an official PlayStation blog post. And we're supposed to sit here and believe that a completely unknown developer was able to somehow convince PlayStation to not only support them by releasing the trailer on their official channel, a trailer, by the way, that isn't even on Blue Box's own YouTube channel, but also have a blog written up on their official website and be able to release a PlayStation 5 application solely dedicated to this game's trailers. Not only that, but according to an interview IGN conducted with Hassan Kahraman, Blue Box has been working on Abandon since 2017. So 4 years into working on this game, they released a trailer through PlayStation that used a $35 procedural forest Unreal asset. The kicker was that someone DM'd Hassan on Twitter asking him this very question: is the environment of the teaser done with UE for $35 scenario? And this was Hassan's response.
No, the teaser, we didn't have a lot of time, so Sony wanted something real quick, so we had to show something, and that was not the game at all, so the game will be different.
So 4 years wasn't enough time to build a game and be able to take a slice out of it for a trailer. Not only that, but Sony wanted something quick, so they put together something fast and cheap that is completely non-representative of the final product. Sony, PlayStation, one of the biggest, most trusted brands in the world that consistently releases some of the highest quality award-winning games in our industry, was totally okay with all of this. Do you know how insane that sounds? Now, since this theory has picked up steam again, last week, multiple journalists are claiming to have debunked this after conducting interviews with Hasan Kahraman himself and apparently obtaining evidence that this is indeed just an indie release. Jordan Alaman from IGN, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, and Mark Delaney from GameSpot, who all claim to have spoken to Hasan and now believe that this has nothing to do with Hideo Kojima. Now, I instantly noticed a mood shift in that blue box conspiracy subreddit as more journalists came forward, sprinkling doubt and telling us that this could lead to a huge disappointment. Many fans changed their stance to align with what these journalists were saying. And that was the moment that I remembered something very important about Hideo Kojima, his desire to involve social commentary into everything he does, from MGS2 and its ideals behind context, half-truths, and society withdrawing into their own small gated communities, to an extension of that ideal in Death Stranding and its immediate reflection on last year's global pandemic, which led me to the most harmful takeaway from the year 2020, which was not only fake news, but also our access to so many sources of what we consider news being bombarded with opinions pitched as facts, and how Americans particularly were divided based upon who they believed was the authority in charge and who was the authority they would trust when given information, which when we look back, played an undeniable part in the loss of over 600,000 American lives. Now, the fact that so many fans that were adamant about something fishy going on with Abandon would then in turn abandon that idea the moment a media website claimed this theory wasn't true. It reminded me of the authority principle, which refers to a person's tendency to comply with people in positions of what we ourselves deem as authority, such as government leaders, policemen, doctors, lawyers, etc. We at a young age are conditioned to blindly follow the instruction of an authority, starting with our parents and then teachers, for example. And when it comes to information within our industry, established journalists are seen as agents of authority. See, we tend to ignore the facts that are right in front of our face the moment a person we have deemed an authority tells us to not believe what we just saw. Millions of Americans believe that Donald Trump is still president because the authorities they trust told them so, but to believe that, you have to completely omit what you are seeing with your very eyes. So in order to believe what the games media is telling us right now, we have to turn our backs on the obvious, which is, as I said, the trailer itself and PlayStation support, along with all of the other connections I spoke about. Plus, we have to abandon our own gut feeling. Sometimes we get so enthralled in the idea of something, we completely forget to perform our own individual critical thinking and just go along with wherever the mob looks to be heading. So the moment we feel a majority of people are claiming to be convinced that this is just an indie game, we go along with it rather than sticking to our independent ideals. Now, for example, let's take the idea that Abandon is Kojima working with Konami to revive Silent Hills. I've seen countless fans on social media subscribe to this theory that never asked themselves the most important question, which is why the would Kojima ever work with Konami ever again? A company that not only demoted him, they worked to publicly embarrass him and scrubbed his name from the company forever. Not only is the question why he would work with them again, but also if you are a Kojima fan, why would you ever want him to work with them again? Even if PlayStation was able to somehow license Silent Hill from Konami for Kojima, why would Hideo do anything that puts money in that company's pockets? Also, in order to believe this, you have to discredit PT as a whole, arguably the greatest demo ever created, downloaded over 1 million times, and not a single person remembers that experience for the trailer at the end. To this day, 7 years later, we call it PT. No one calls it the Silent Hills demo or the Silent Hills teaser. PT was an original Kojima creation with loose ties to Silent Hill. Not only that, but PT was essentially a giant f*** to Konami, and I'll link a video down below that proves that courtesy of the Great Debate. Now, what do I believe? I believe that Abandoned will lead to a horror game that Kojima has wanted to create for years. Jeff Grubb from GamesBeat claims Kojima could not be involved with Abandoned as he is working with the Xbox on adapting the cloud gaming project that fell apart at Stadia. But why not both? Xbox has Azure, a technology that is central to Kojima's cloud-based title, so he has to go there to execute his vision. PlayStation, on the other hand, has something Xbox does not, and I'm a little surprised no one has theorized this, which is virtual reality. PlayStation couldn't ask for a bigger launch title for PS5's PSVR than Kojima finally realizing his PT vision. Everything about the Abandoned trailer, even down to the description, perfectly fits a VR experience. Remember that cryptic tweet Blue Box sent that everyone theorized was Silent Hill? Well, there's another word that fits, which happens to start with S and end with L, and that is Abandoned equals sequel, as in the sequel to PT. Now, I also believe that Hideo will take this charade as far as he possibly can. I think Kojima enjoys the experience of being an unknown developer again, to be able to talk about and show off a game through a proxy that doesn't have his name attached, which, just like Death Stranding, would instantly raise the stakes. So Kojima finds a developer to stand in for him and be able to execute and release an experience without his name being attached. What better way to find out how people truly feel about a project you create than to completely remove your name from it? Kojima will finally be able to find out if people truly love this project because it was amazing and not because it was directed by Hideo Kojima. Remember, this was essentially how PT was released. From its launch trailer down to the entire experience, no one knew what it was until the code was cracked and it was revealed at the very end who was behind all of this, which is why I think Abandoned equals the spiritual sequel to PT. Because horror films and games have a tendency to be predictable. It's hard to deliver a scary experience if viewers already know what to expect. And I can't think of anything scarier than Kojima tricking our industry's biggest media outlets by hiring a developer proxy and convincing them to then convince us to completely ignore our gut feelings and what we have seen with our own eyes. It's essentially the illusion of truth effect. You repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. I want to thank the Blue Box Conspiracy subreddit linked down below, and the Great Debate video I brought up earlier also linked below. Make sure you watch it. It's very well done and very well researched. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and please share if you enjoyed it. You can also listen to the Camp Koji podcast every Monday on your platform of choice. Thank you.
Perfect.